Through the Leadership Lens is brought to you by Thompson Autogas. Thompson Autogas is the industry's gold standard turnkey solution for all your autogas needs. From funding to refueling and everything in between, Thompson Autogas is there to support your fleet every step of the way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Through the Leadership Lens, a podcast presented by the Women in Propane Council. I am Freddie Riddler.
And I'm Bridget Kidd, and today we are so excited to have a friendly face and a friend to so many in the industry, Rita Pecilunas, who is sales director at Oda Data, and a new-to-be inductee to the Hall of Fame, the LP Gas Hall of Fame. So congratulations, Rita, on that honor, and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Great to see you
Great.
too.
So Rita, just to kick us off, you know this podcast is about leadership and with a lens on the propane industry, but not exclusively. Can you just tell us a little bit about what leadership means to you?
Well, I've thought a lot about that. It's evolved over time. When I was in my 20s and I was the first vice president of MPGA, the first female vice president of MPGA, and I was uptight. I thought that role meant everything had to be perfect. I had, to pave the way and prove myself. So I managed quite a few people, 3 departments, and I'll just say I probably wasn't the nicest boss. I wanted everything to be perfect. I thought I was helping them become future leaders. And then I had children. And suddenly I realized, it doesn't have to be perfect. And she's really good at that, probably better than me. So maybe I just take a step back. And I think once I had kids, I realized previously my whole purpose in life had been work. That's all I did. Fortunately, my husband was a teacher and a coach. So I was gone all the time. I worked nights, I traveled weekends. And we were newlyweds. We survived it because he also had coaching nights and weekends. But once I had kids, I realized there is more to life than being anal retentive about every word that you put on paper. And honestly, my team blossomed. People who had previously not realized what they could do blossomed into amazing leaders themselves. So I learned. I have found notes recently from employees back in the day who said, I was a tough boss, but it did help them later in their career. And fortunately, we are still friends, which is a little unusual when I look back at the way I micromanaged everything. But so definitely leadership has evolved a great deal. I think my leadership style now, because I don't necessarily manage people, it's more quiet leadership. I like to pull people in, help people. I usually know because I'm very involved when someone's left a company or lost a job. And I could probably count 10 people who I've helped foster to their next job. I remember when Jessica Johnson was new and I saw her at a board meeting and I'm like, that's a new young woman in the industry. And I hightailed it over to introduce myself and get to know her. And I think that's kind of leadership doesn't have to be a big position and the head of anything. Leadership can be these quiet ways we interact with others and involve them and see what they can add to the whole picture that for me now, my entire career has been the propane industry for a long time. Didn't intend on that, but that's where I took a left turn and I just kept going.
What were you doing, Rita? Tell us how you got into the propane industry.
Oh boy, I didn't intend to, I will tell you that. I had been with a major corporation. I'd been in event planning. That was going to be my career. Specifically in music management is where I wanted to go. And I worked for a big corporation. I managed all our events for 16 division and some very heady events for a girl in her early 20s where I was hiring big time bands to play for DuPont and Pepsi and Coca-Cola. And we had a hostile takeover. The company was bought and separated. All 16 divisions were sold off individually.
Okay.
So I had a friend from college who worked for MPGA. She was the director of member services. And she had called me about 2 weeks prior to this happening and said, hey, we're looking for somebody to head up our marketing for the National Propane Gas Association. Then I was into so many great projects and there was so much opportunity because this was the late 80s. We had no budgets. So literally, I was writing industrial commercial propane guides. So I was reading these technical manuals and trying to digest it for dummies, which I was a dummy. And it was really over my head, but it was I knew that it was at the very least a big resume builder.
Right.
And so every time I almost left, they would give me a new project or a new department to run or make me a VP. And I kept thinking, okay, a few more years. And here I am, 34 years later. Couldn't be happier.
What about Rita?
It's my family.
When you think about that and kind of how you ended up here, which obviously was not your goal, right? To end up at probably any association, let alone propane. We talk about it on the podcast a lot. There's an element of risk involved, right? But you also have always come across to me, and we've known each other a while. You lead with confidence, right? You lead with confidence. And I'm wondering, did that help you take that risk, or what made you say, or was it just, I've got these kids here, somebody's got to pay these bills, I guess I'll go work for the National Propane Gas Association?
Yeah, I didn't have kids yet when I made that decision. I actually quit my job for my kids, but that's another story. The best advice I ever got was my first boss at a PR firm. I'd gotten a sales appointment with Motorola, and I was with a big wig, and I had no business going to talk to them at all. I was right out of college. And she said, what we do, girl, is we fake it till we make it. She said, we walk in like we know what we're doing. And so you say I'm very confident. And I think over time I built confidence, but it's also because the industry is my friends and family now. I don't have to fake it with most of you. There are a few. But that stuck with me. So through my career, when I'd have to appear I used to do talk shows for the propane industry, believe it or not. We called it Energy Tips. And I would want to throw up thinking this is a bigger market. I'm going to be on this morning show. And I would just say, remember what Evelyn said, fake it, just fake it like you're extremely confident and then go home and throw up. And I do that with, I think every time I've taken a new responsibility that's over my head, and there have been a lot of them, I fake it. I work really hard. I learn on the job. Like Oda Data, I didn't know I'm not a salesperson. And I'm more of a marketing communications, bring people together around an initiative. So I took the job and I thought, we'll give it a shot. And here you are. 6 years later, it's the best thing I ever have done.
I love it you say that, Rita, because I'm kind of like a little bit like you. I do get nervous. People think you're confident because you can do certain things, get in front of people, talk this and that. But someone told me once that if I'm doing a podcast, or if I'm going to get up and present something and people are there to listen, you're already going to educate them on something they're not aware of. Because if you bring up a topic that they already know, they're not going to be there. So I tell myself that no matter how badly I do, they're still going to get something out of it because I'm up front and they're listening and they're engaged. So I'm glad you said that, because that's something I repeat to myself every time I get nervous about doing something. I'm going to go back a little bit from something I wrote down, because you said that you were the VP of the NPGA, and I don't know if that was the timeline or the time frame that you were like this boss, like my way or the highway, very direct. Talking to you now, that's not who you are. And I know with the kids and different career paths, but was there like a specific project or time frame where you said to yourself, Rita, I'm not like that person. I just did this project. I just stepped in this new role. This is who I am. This exciting, bubbly, smiley, everybody's my friend attitude, because I can't believe you were ever that direct in the past. And unless you hide it really well right now, but you are just so much fun to talk to. What happened? I mean, that's a good thing. I don't say it in a bad way, but can you like specifically think back, when was the turning point of that?
It was kids.
That's
That's
awesome.
it. So I think I was always friendly and I made work fun, but I was very micromanaged. Instead of just fixing a document, I would edit it with my journalism editing marks and hand it back to the writer. And I actually got in trouble for that. Like, why aren't you just fixing it for them? We still had fun. I think I led every day with, even though we worked our butts off in the 3 departments I ran, like we would have dog and pizza nights and beer. Don't tell Dan Myers. But we would have a big deadline, or we'd have the Southeastern coming up, or Pinnacle, which was our educational conference, and we had to work late. So I would say, let's all go home and get our dogs. I'll go get pizza and beer, and we'll meet back in an hour. And then we'd work till 10 at night. So I wouldn't say I was necessarily a mean person. I was still the same kook that I've always been. But I just micromanaged. I wanted everything to be perfect. And if it wasn't, I felt like I'd failed. And I've realized it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, well, of course, right? Everybody makes mistakes, but I think there's this evolution of leadership. And for women, especially, like I hear a lot of people say, like, oh, don't say fake it till you make it, right? Or don't be direct. And it's like, why, right? The fake it till you make it works if you're doing the work behind the scenes, right? You're not just faking it, the making it is the part that counts. Like we joke, work-life balance only works when you do the work part, right? Then you get this life that you thrives and you get to travel and do all of these things. But I do wonder who was influential to you in your evolution of leadership, right? Like where you said, "Oh gosh, I'll pick up these tidbits or these components and traits that this person has. I want to emulate that." Were there those people for you?
Well, my first boss was very inspirational. The one who said, fake it till you
Yeah.
make it. She was a very gentle leader. She was, she was important to me. But you know who else came on board right towards the end when I chose to leave MPGA? And she was a very inspiring leader, was Kate Kaskin. I have this theory about leadership, and I told you this before. It's like old money and new money. Old money, you may not even know they're very wealthy. They're generous, they don't flaunt it. New money, they're driving, the Ferrari.
Yeah.
Their kids got a brand new Jeep at 16. They're flaunting new money. Kate Kaskin, in my mind, was very much old power. She never flaunted the fact that she was second in command at PERC. She never condescended to anyone. She never raised her voice. She was very old power in my mind. And then there are people who come into an important leadership role and they're new power. They're very clear. And there were times at PERC when I was a consultant, and I remember PERC staffers long gone. We were setting up a trade show booth. I was like 8 months pregnant. I'm picking up garbage, lifting tables. And there was someone, again, long gone at PERC, who literally watched all the women doing this heavy lifting and stood there with his arms closed because he was a VP.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to help with any of that. And not sure if you have to edit this out, but that to me was new power. And Kate always emulated wise leadership and kindness. And when I consulted for her, she was always so grateful for little things I did, even though they were paying me, paying me a great living to do these projects. She would always make a point of taking me aside and saying how much she appreciated it.
Right.
So I think her influence, and it just dawned on me here actually, was a big part of changing how I wanted to be as a leader.
Yeah.
So thank you, Kate. I'm gonna make her watch this.
Kate, we'll tag Kate in it and make sure she sees it.
Yeah.
I love that. It's just so important that I think that you're able to, we all have people, whether it's in our professional lives or personal lives, where you think like, oh God, I wish I could do more of that. Right. And I always worry if you're someone who doesn't do that, Like if you're not growing and you're not changing and you're not evolving and you're not able to say, gosh, here's a flaw that I have, or maybe not a flaw, but an area that I can improve, then what? I mean, you just are stuck in this place and limited. So I think it's important. I think that's cool. And you guys have such a great friendship in addition to a
Definitely.
professional relationship. Yeah.
I'm very fortunate
Yeah.
to have gotten some of my best friends in the world from my job.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's a blessing.
Rita, what about when can you talk about a time where, because I think in the industry, right? I've not been in this industry very long. I mean, at 13 years, but not long compared to other people. But we're seeing, certainly from Perk's perspective, and thankfully, a lot of new people coming into the industry and people who have not been a part of all of the years and all of the history to know, what, just to have that perspective. Can you talk about a time where you were challenged and thought, oh gosh, I don't know where to turn, and how you got through that? Because I think there's so many people that we meet, again, at Perk who are trying to get involved and they're trying to make their way and maybe make a name for themselves in their company or within the industry. And they think, oh gosh, I don't even know what to do or where to start or who to go to. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Well, if you can get involved in the industry at all, like take advantage of one of the groups. For me, when I was only woman going to board meetings
Mhm.
back then. Maybe Dee Dee Alexander showed up after a few
Yeah.
times. That was it. Oh, Billy McWhorter, who ran Sequoia Propane, she was there. But other than spouses, it was just me.
Mhm.
Thank God for the young gassers. They literally pulled me in,
Mhm.
and it was back in the day. It was I don't know if you even remember Kurt Rule, Brian Davidson,
Mhm.
Rick Ledoux, Russ Ridings. That gang said, "Oh, that girl looks lost and she doesn't know anybody," and they brought me over.
Mhm.
If you can get involved, and I know the Young Professionals Council is doing a lot of virtual
Mhm.
meetings.
Mm-hmm.
If you're new to the industry, and women in propane are doing a lot of virtual things
Mhm.
as well. If you can get involved, get sponsorship or approval within your company to do that, even if it's virtual, it makes a huge difference because you see other young people, other new people in the same boat as
Mhm.
you are. And it's almost a lifeline to pull you up in the
Mhm.
industry, and you're not alone. You know how it is with parenting. I mean, I have two kids who had medical issues, and you think you're all alone
Mhm.
until you find that group who's going through
Mm-hmm.
what you're going through.
Yeah.
It's the same in business. Find a support network, and you'll make your way through it and succeed and find opportunities.
Mine was Nancy Coop. I was the lost person at the board of director meeting, and she grabbed myself and Jess and said, "Come to Women in Propane Council meeting." And I'm like, "Really?" It's like, "It's for everybody." And that's all it's all took. It's crazy
Mhm.
how quick you become someone by just finding that friend, that mentor. And it's
Mhm.
truly amazing. And I love that story. And obviously, we know this is a Women in Propane podcast. So I got to ask, because every time I plug the name, I get an extra high five from Jessica Johnson. So with the Women in Propane, it's a two-part question. How has that influenced you? And how have you influenced the Women in Propane? What have you done for that council?
Not enough. I mean, I've been one of the original members
Mm-hmm.
and always supportive of it. But when you work 7 days a week, 8 to 10 hours travel, I haven't been able to do as much as I would like to. Haven't been really in the leadership roles. They've approached me. I'm now on the advisory
Mm-hmm.
board. I do a lot of what I'm best at. I travel and I find ambassadors in each state. So I've been, again, behind the scenes. It's a lot of what I do. I meet someone young, energetic, male or female, because you don't, as you know, it's about people in propane, not just women. And I've filled a lot of those ambassador roles that we've needed. So now we're spreading the word out to the states. So as far as what they've done for me, I mean, look at people like Nancy Coop. I mean, you say that, and that she pulled you in, and I get almost emotional because she's an extraordinary human being. and she just spreads that. Love isn't quite the right word, but you know what I mean. She spreads that joy and embraces the new people to the industry. She continues to mentor and support me, even though I've been in the industry longer than her. I still look up to her as one of the originals, just in the industry. She's a pillar of our industry.
That's awesome.
What about, Rita, as you look at, I mean, this nomination into the Hall of Fame is a huge honor, right? I mean, when you look at that, I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder from what you're going to say at the dinner, but when you
I don't know what I'm
reflect,
going to say.
what's that?
I don't know what I'm going to say.
Well, let's do a dry run. We'll do a dry run.
I was just going to say, let's go through it right now.
Yeah. I just wonder, what does that mean to you? And when you look, I mean, you have such dear friends in this industry. You've created a legacy in the industry, obviously. I think about state meetings and you're a staple, no matter the state, right? Like you're there. And it was comforting to me when I started here and I didn't know anybody. And you go out and you see friendly faces. So when you look back, and not that you're going anywhere, but what does that mean to you?
Well, it was an honor, to say the least, surprising. I'm proud of it because there aren't many women, so I'm extra proud of that. And a bit shocking, and I think I told Freddie this at a recent board meeting, I had a couple men who, honestly, no joke, were like, why? Why you? And I thought about that. Like, no, I'm not the leader who's the president of this or owns a major company. I'm not that person. And so, of course, as a woman, I thought to myself, they're right. Why me? This is dumb. I'm a fraud. And then I remembered, before I left for the board meeting, I had to go through old folders they wanted pictures of my professional and personal life. So I had to dig through trying to find back in the day photos. And in that, I found letters that I kept, kind of a pick me up folder whenever I might feel, bad about myself or low. I used to go to that folder and it was people thanking me for, when we had $100,000 in marketing and we made it go as if we had millions with me appearing on TV for free. There was no cost to it. We called the station, set up these networks. We weren't paying a PR firm. Me writing manuals. I launched Pinnacle. It was called Pinnacle 2000 in 1995 because we wanted something new and vibrant to engage the industry. So it was our first ever executive educational conference. Did a lot of different work for Perk, launching programs, revamping their trade show booth, marketer technology training. When the budget wouldn't allow for another trainer from the professional firm, they called me. Centennial celebration, when they're like, who's going to go through a bunch of dirty, dusty artifacts and catalog them and write what they are? Let's call Rita. And I thought, you know what? I may not be that famous leader, owner of a big company, Perk chair, whatever. Those are all important people. But I'm kind of the girl behind the scenes who got a lot of stuff done. And so when these people said this at the board meeting, it took me back. I was pretty upset, I think, when I told you, Freddie. And then I went back to those memories and those thank you letters and recognition. And I'm like, no, I think you deserve this, girl.
When you told me that, Rita, I didn't know how to reply, but now I do. It's your comment about old money, new money. You have that old leadership skills that I'm sorry, I'll stop. but I'm going to say it though, because
keep going.
You are that undiscovered talent. You are the one working behind the scenes. You are the one that's been busting your butt getting to this level, but you don't flaunt it. You're very humble with what you do. And now I know how to respond to you. Now, I wish I knew that when you were telling me the story at the board of director meeting, because I would have said that. You answered it ready. And it's you are who you are. And I think you are one of the most well-deserved people for this award. So I can't wait to congratulate you again. So you were on top of that mountain. Don't let people push you down in the valley because you don't belong to be down there.
Also,
Thank
I
you,
mean,
Brenda.
very true. But also, don't you hate when that happens? When
Yeah.
later you think it's the scene in Sex and the City. Remember when Charlotte's like, if I saw Big now, I know what I would say. I know the gesture I would make. This is the life. This is me all the time. I'm thinking, I know what I would say. Now I know what I would say to you when you said that. But in the moment, I did. Yeah. Well, Rita, that's
Yep.
very
I
exciting.
appreciate that.
Congratulations. And it is very well deserved.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Now I have to find a dress
Oh, gosh.
and figure out what I'm going to say.
Oh, you'll
We
find
might want to
something.
lighten the mood a little bit, Bridget. We might want to go to the whip round.
Yeah, I think we're primed for it. I think this is great.
Yes. Let's have some fun now. Thank you so much, Rita, for that first section of discussion. That was great. So this is
My pleasure. It was fun.
this is the whip round. So we're gonna have some fun. Bridget's gonna start it off with a question, just whatever the first thing comes to your mind. As long as
I got
it's
it.
not
I knew this one.
Let's
Rita,
go
when
for
we
it.
knew we were interviewing you. I knew right away, but I've modified it a little bit.
Uh-oh.
What is the last gift you gave?
Pilates socks to Nicole Sullivan for her birthday. Dog Pilates socks.
Yes.
Oh, I love
And
it.
her favorite tequila. It was her birthday at the board meeting. So that Don Julio 1940 whatever and dog Pilates socks.
I love it. Great.
Awesome. If you had to describe yourself in one word, what would that word be?
Crazy. Crazy is what comes to mind. Maybe energetic. My team always jokes because I'm the oldest one. Well, not anymore, but of the original team of Data, I'm the oldest one. And whenever they try to joke that I'm older, I'm like, I have more energy than all 6 of you put together. And they can't. And I'm the least mature person in this room. So
that's perfect.
Just
crazy
perfect.
Sums it all up.
What about this is I'm curious about this too, especially as a mom. I think about this, and Freddie does as a dad too. What do you wish you would have known when you were 16 years old that you know now?
Ooh, gosh. Well, I wish I'd known that it's what inside that makes you beautiful. And not just beautiful looking, but a beautiful human being. You know, back at 16, you're all worried about and I grew up in a very affluent town, wealthy town, and it was all about what you wore and what you drove and how, put together you were. And while I did my best to keep up, I was not at the top of the food chain. And I wish I'd known that it's truly what's inside you and what you put out into the world that makes you a beautiful human being in all ways. So I wish I could tell her that.
That's awesome. I have a question that I just threw together too, because you're just this fun person. I was curious, but you're also caring. So I probably already answered it. But you have 3 slices of cake, Rita, but there's 4 people. How do you divide that up?
Am I one of the people? Oh, I don't like cake, so my friends get the cake.
You could have been like, well, I'm such a caring person that I would have given them all 3 slices and said, enjoy it. But you're like, I don't like cake. No, here you go.
I do like cake.
I'll have a glass of wine or an espresso martini.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Now, if it was 3 glasses of wine, I would have to get a 4th and divide that up.
Yeah, right. Perfect. All right, Rita, my last question for you is, what's your ideal vacation?
I don't take them. No, I rarely have taken vacation. The good news is I leave tomorrow at the crack of dawn for Puerto Rico with some of my best buddies. And so I'm super excited, and I'm going dark for the first time.
Good for you.
I'm going dark,
for you.
People. Don't call me next week.
Not next week.
But my ideal vacation is normally explore. I love Europe. I love history. I love that you can go somewhere in Europe and literally I feel the echoes of time and the pain that happened there and the joy. It's almost it's a spiritual thing when you go somewhere that has such a history. So I love everything Europe. Lots of places still on my bucket list to get to, lots I've gotten to do through the propane industry and the World Association. I've gotten to travel the world and travel Europe with the European Association. Propane's been very, very good to me.
The family. It truly is.
Yeah.
That's one thing that comes up with all of our podcasts is the word family. Every single one. It's incredible. Rita,
that's why we never leave.
Thank you so much for being on our podcast today. It was so much fun. And on behalf of everyone on the podcast team, congratulations on your LP Gas Hall of Fame. That's an incredible award and achievement. And I'm so excited to see you in Charlotte to personally congratulate you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rita.
I appreciate that.
We're just
Thank you
so
so
glad
much.
to know you. I mean, it's great.
And likewise, back at you guys. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
This has been another episode of Through the Leadership Lens presented by Women in Propane. Be sure to subscribe, download, and share with a friend. To learn more about Women in Propane, visit us on Facebook, Instagram, or online at www.womeninpropane.org. I'm Freddie Riddler.
And I'm Bridget Kidd. Thanks for listening. Until next time.